Donald Trump has said he will speak with Iranian leaders on the phone today following what he called very good and productive talks between Washington and Tehran. The US president said he will hold off on striking Iranian power plants subject to the success of the negotiations. But the Speaker of Iran's parliament denied that talks had even taken place and calls Mr. Trump's statements fake news reports designed to manipulate financial and oil markets.
President Trump insisted today that very strong talks took place with a senior regime official.
So the discussions took place yesterday. We're going to get together today by probably phone. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
He said his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff spoke with what he called a top person, but not the new Supreme Leader. Over the weekend, the US president had threatened to obliterate Iran's power plants if they didn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz by midnight tonight. And Iran countered, saying they would block the entire Gulf with sea mines if attacked. But this morning, Donald Trump announced that he was postponing military strikes against Iranian energy infrastructure for 5 days, subject to the success of the ongoing talks. Oil prices dropped sharply on the announcement, which came just as markets opened. The Speaker of Iran's parliament denied that talks had even taken place and called Mr. Trump's statements fake news reports designed to manipulate the markets. But the US president said there was confusion in Tehran because communications had been knocked out. During that war of words, strikes on civilians continued as Iranian rescuers pulled dead bodies from this building in Tabriz and amazingly managed to save this man in Tehran after his apartment building was flattened by an airstrike. There's no let-up in Israel's onslaught on Lebanon either, with further strikes in Beirut overnight, and the military said it expects several more weeks of fighting against Iran and Hezbollah as fears mount of a larger Israeli ground invasion of southern Lebanon. A 61-year-old farmer was also killed on the other side of the border in northern Israel. These supposed US talks, if they do take place with regime leaders, have a lot of heavy lifting to do if they're to achieve the complete and total resolution of hostilities that Donald Trump has predicted. Fergal Gallagher, RTE News.
Well, our Washington correspondent Jackie Fox is standing by. And Jackie, Donald Trump had been threatening to obliterate Iran's energy infrastructure. He's now extended that deadline by 5 days, as we saw there. What could be his strategy here?
Tommy, this is all about time. Firstly, these discussions could lead to an agreement, an off-ramp for Donald Trump, because this war is turning into a quagmire. The US had choices here: escalate by bombing those Iranian power plants or de-escalate with the possibility of those talks. Now, tensions are still high, and that leads me to my second point about time. US Marines are on the way to the region. A couple of thousand of them are en route, and that gives them time to get there. Donald Trump could still decide to put US boots on the ground, or he could use them to force the Strait of Hormuz open. Donald Trump is also thinking about those rising oil prices and in relation to the markets. Now, I have been speaking to a former Commerce Secretary under the Trump administration about this, and he said all of those rising prices, they are temporary.
If there is some sort of a resolution that satisfies the president and reopens Hormuz, then I think, yes, the crisis will go away. If not, and if he has to take more severe action, I think the crisis will also go away, but it will take longer.
And Tommy, this has been the messaging from the Trump administration, that those high energy prices are short term. But we simply just do not know, because the messaging from the Trump administration has been inconsistent, and we well know that Donald Trump is prone to changing his mind.
Jackie Fox in Washington, thanks indeed.
The Taoiseach, the Taoiseach and the leader of the Independents in government, Sean Kenny, will meet later on to sign off on fuel supports in a bid to tackle the substantial inflation experienced since the beginning of the US war on Iran. Our political correspondent Micheál Lahan and our economics and public affairs editor David Murphy are both with me now. Micheál, I'll come to you first. Have the energy support measures, have they been decided on? Is it just a case of signing them off, or does anything still need to be ironed out?
Well, discussions have been taking place throughout the day, Sharon, but the actual sign-off will come formally at Cabinet tomorrow. But in essence, a lot of it will be agreed tonight when a meeting gets underway with the government leaders around 7 o'clock. I suppose the broad outline is fairly clear at this point, that there will be an excise duty cut for petrol and diesel. More will be paid out in the fuel allowance, and there should be a rebate too for hauliers. Government keen to emphasise the importance of hauliers in the economy and for supply chains, and there have been discussions through the afternoon involving the Transport Minister in relation to that as well. I think the overall strategy is fairly clear too, and that is that governments see that short-term interventions are necessary, but that they would be short-term and then reviewed after a period. So it's just a matter of, is it 4 weeks or is it 6 weeks perhaps before you have that review. Now, the Taoiseach spoke in broad terms earlier about the approach that government is taking and what will be announced tomorrow, and you'll also hear presently from the opposition parties who believe government are not going far enough to help people. But first, here is Micheál Martin speaking earlier.
Well, as I said, we're looking at initially temporary targeted measures. They've already had an impact on people, so don't want to preempt fully what we'll do today, but there will be measures announced tomorrow. The figures are volatile, we know that. They've been up and down, but if you look at it cumulatively over the last number of weeks, they've had impact.
So what we want to see from the government tomorrow is an understanding that they know what is going on with people's lives. What we want to see from them is decisive action. What we have heard in terms of the leaks tell us that it's going to be little more than half measures. Half measures simply will not cut it.
Well, David, some people are saying they may be only half measures and they won't cut it. But given what President Trump said today about a cessation in attacks on energy facilities, will these measures really be necessary? Because the markets did react positively today, didn't they?
Well, they have reacted positively, but it's not outright euphoria. We've seen the price of a barrel of oil fall about 10% down to around $100. Now, that is going to have an impact at the pumps. We're probably going to see petrol fall by about 5 cents, diesel fall by about 8 cents as a result of what's happened today if those prices are sustained. But that's nothing like the increase that people have felt, which have been around 30 or 40 cent per litre, depending on which type of fuel you use. So there are grounds for the government to continue to go ahead with these measures. But certainly what's happened today underlines the logic of introducing temporary measures. But that said, all we've had today is a statement from one side. It's not a cessation, and there's a long way to go before prices would fall back to where they were before the conflict broke out.
Economics and Public Affairs Editor David Murphy and Micheál Lahan from Leinster House. Thank you both. Experts are warning that food prices may increase by up to 10% as a result of the conflict in the Middle East. Green diesel prices have jumped by more than half, while fertiliser costs have also soared. Farming groups have called for government intervention to offset the increases.
Green diesel and fertiliser, both essential for farmers. And price spikes driven by the Iran war are hitting hard. James Dray is a beef and tillage farmer in Kilkenny. His current crop will be ready within weeks, but it's the next cycle where costs will really be felt.
Fertilisers and fuels, particularly the urea nitrogen sources, they've risen from €500 a tonne up until €800 a tonne, subject to the difficulties we're facing. So that's a 60% rise in the space of a couple of weeks.
Green diesel has also soared more than 50% to €1.50 a litre. For now, James is insulated from this, having filled his 8,000 litre tank before the jump, which will see him through until April.
We can't pass any costs on because we're effectively producing the grain and we're dealing with a world market. So we're price takers, not price makers.
These severe hikes in input costs aren't confined to tillage farming. Producers across the agri-food sector are feeling the effects, with fears that if the conflict in the Middle East drags on, food prices will start to rise again too.
About a third of the traded fertiliser in the world passes through the Strait of Hormuz, so any limit in the availability of or the price of fertiliser will really impact the price of every food product.
While supply chain data suggest any surge in energy costs has a knock-on effect at the checkout.
Evidence from oil price increases that have been sustained over several months will show that there's a significant increase in the price of food. The most recent one has been the Ukraine war. So if we track that, you can probably see that there's going to be an increase of 8 to 10% in grocery inflation.
Angus Cox, RTE News.
Well, staying with the theme of rising prices, and this evening government leaders will meet to agree on energy supports. A double fuel allowance payment, a reduction in excise duty and a tax rebate for hauliers are among the measures expected. But are they enough to help those that need the help the most? We're joined by energy economist with the ESRI, Dr. Niall Farrell. And thanks indeed for joining us on 6-1, Dr. Farrell. Those three measures that I mentioned there, the rebate for hauliers, extension of the fuel allowance and reduction in excise duty. What's your assessment? Are those the measures that are required to help people the most?
Thanks very much. No, I think it's important to bear in mind the objective of these sort of interventions. So the objective will be to help households, and the more you can target these interventions towards vulnerable households, the better. So if you think about the various different measures that could be introduced, we think about maybe changes to prices, such as the excise duty changes. Research by colleagues at the ESRI has shown that if you change prices, because those who are more well off tend to consume more energy or fuel, 50% of the benefit goes to maybe the top 40%. So it's not that well targeted, although it does help those in lower incomes as well.
So basically reducing excise duty will benefit the higher earners.
It helps everybody, but maybe a greater share of that total budget will go towards those who are more well off. The second option could be maybe universal charges like the energy credits we have. That sort of gives everybody the same amount, so it's more better targeted towards the vulnerable if you give everybody the same rather than maybe a greater share of the budget towards those who are more well off. And then we have targeted approaches, like say changes to the fuel allowance. They're designed to be targeted towards those who are most vulnerable. And for every euro of public money spent, you get most impact on those who are most vulnerable.
What are the other measures then that government could look at if they were hoping to target those that need help the most?
Well, the fuel allowance type measures are probably the gold standard essentially. So you want to look at measures that are targeting those who are most vulnerable, again, if the objective is to help those who are most vulnerable. The fuel allowance has been shown to be quite well aligned with those who are at risk of poverty. Of course, a lot of these measures, there's certain cohorts maybe perhaps that are quite vulnerable that maybe are excluded, but by and large it's quite good, and maybe in the longer term, that could be something to be looked into.
And as we saw in Angus Cox's report there, we're also seeing an increase in food prices. Can you explain why the war in Iran is leading to that increase in supermarkets?
Sure. So I suppose we have a situation where we have increases in prices of fuel, but also we've increases in prices of fertiliser. And a lot of fertiliser comes from the Middle East, a lot of it comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So essentially, fertiliser is a big input for tillage and at a global scale, not just at an Irish scale. So March and this time of year is very important when it comes to putting down fertiliser. So if the cost of fertiliser at this moment is high, well then that could feed into increased food prices. Maybe not immediately, but throughout the next 6 to 9 months or so.
Government leaders are meeting this evening to discuss those various energy supports, and no doubt part of what they'll be discussing is how long those supports should last for. Now, I know Donald Trump is trying to de-escalate, it seems, the situation in the Middle East, but if this were to end soon, within the next few days, are we still likely to be dealing with inflated prices for some time to come?
Sure. So I suppose there's a few factors to consider here. First of all, we have the immediate shock that we have at the moment. And a lot of that is due to expectations, uncertainty, risk, and that's priced into international markets. We heard an announcement today that would suggest that there was a de-escalation of activity in Iran, and that led to a decrease in wholesale prices. And that sort of shows us that uncertainty and risk and expectations play a big role here. If we had an announcement that things were to end in the morning, we might have a situation where a lot of that risk would be removed and we would have a decline. So a lot of the high prices we'd see might fall, but we have a situation where infrastructure has been damaged. And that means that we might settle, but the settled price will likely be higher than what we had before this started.
All right, we'll leave it there. Dr. Niall Farrell of the ESRI, thanks indeed for joining us on 6-1.
Thank you.